Hey, it's good to see all you guys on the second live of Personal Paranormal Experiences. How's everybody doing this evening? Do you guys like the new set? I thought I'd make it look at you. I can go behind the trees and everything. See that? Yes, it's foggy. That's right. That's for damn sure. You know, people are saying, hey, I can't make the show. Here's my story. So they write it all down on a piece of paper. And the thing is I don't really... it's really about people telling their story. I mean, I guess I could try reading them for you guys, but... Actually, I don't have access to it right now. Yeah, I actually combined two photos to get this look here. I took one photo and then I found another one of a path. So like, I'll show you what it looks like. It's kind of cool if you take me out of it. Let's see. So that might be a good way to start the show, actually. You know, just have it like this, and then I go. Yeah. 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 Hopefully, you know, the computer's working this time. So, how many in here are going to be telling their story tonight? Put a 1 if you're going to be telling your story on the show. Because that's kind of the whole key right there. Because if nobody's calling in to tell their story, there won't be a show. Although I could just sit here for 3 hours and stare at the fog, I guess. Well, I'll put the number up, but I want to know if people are going to be calling in to tell their stories tonight. And the reason I'm asking is because I'd like to do it where somebody, you know, maybe we can get you the number on the side. I'd like to try to avoid any of these idiot prank callers, you know, if we can. I mean, I guess I kind of figured it out last time how to do it, but... Right. All right. Well, I guess we can get started then. Let me put the number on the screen. Let me get the settings right though. Hold on a second. All right, there we go. There you go. There is the phone number. So let's get started on your stories on personal paranormal experiences. And when you type in the meeting ID, it says, do you have another ID? You just hit the pound key, and you don't need it. I'm not sure why it asks you that. If you don't need it, why is it asking you to put it in? But it's simple. You just call the number, and we go over your story. Yeah, so maybe anybody on the East Coast that's not going to stay up the whole time, call in first. I mean, it doesn't really matter, but if you'd like to. Yeah, this isn't a show where we line up guests before it starts, right? So when it happens, you got to call in and tell your story.
This is an
Yeah. So I guess I could read the one that somebody put out. Slick Vic 40. Okay, somebody's calling now. Let's see. Hello, this is 336 on the air here?
Yes.
All right. So what's your name?
So I wanted to tell a little bit about the house that I am actually living in.
Okay.
Back in 96, when my husband and I first got married, we decided to leave from the town that we were living in because it was getting overcrowded. So we moved to the town that I'm in now, which is a very, very small town. So we were actually looking for houses, and I saw the house, and I'm still living in the house. I saw the house that I'm living in, and I told my husband, I actually like that house. So we set up a meeting, and we came to look at the house. And as soon as I walked in, I told my husband, I don't like that house. There's just something about it that I don't like. And I just kept telling him this and telling him this. And you got to stop and think, my husband's from Mexico, so he's kind of looking at me like, you're weird. And I'm like, no, I just don't like the house. So I moved in, and, I was here for about maybe a month. And my oldest daughter, who was living with her dad, decided to come and spend the night. And my husband and I had went to a Christmas party. And while we were there, I received a call from my daughter telling me that I needed to come home. And I'm like, is something wrong? She's like, yes, and you need to come home. I was like, can you tell me over the phone? She's like, well, there's this toy here, and it keeps saying, thank you, ma'am, come again. And I was like, just take the batteries out. She says, I've done that, and it's not stopping. Being that she was young, and I didn't want her to be, scared.
Wait, so this is like Child's Play,
home.
right? The movie Child's Play? Right? Remember the Chucky
Yes.
the doll where there was batteries? Hey, let me.
Yes.
What's your name, by the way? You just sort of started telling your.
It is Susan Alba.
Like Jessica Alba, right?
Yes.
All right. I always thought
So
she was
we
really
come
pretty.
home,
Anyways, you came home.
and
Okay.
Huh?
No, I was just going to get you back onto the story. So you came home
And my husband takes the batteries out, and this machine is still saying, thank you, ma'am, come again. So my husband takes it outside and literally beats the machine up. So, my daughter decides, I'm not staying here. I don't like your house. I'm going back to my dad's. So she goes back to her dad's. Well, my youngest one decided that she wanted to come. And it just so happens that we were going shopping that day, and her boyfriend was wanting to come by and visit her, so she didn't want to go with us. So we're in the next big town, which is Winston-Salem, and we get a phone call from her telling us, you need to come home. And I'm like, oh my God, now what? And she's like, all of the dishes in the cabinets are completely in the floor in the kitchen. And I'm like, seriously? Are you kidding me? She's like, no, Mom, come home. I don't want to stay here. I want to leave. I'm like, oh gosh. So we had to turn around, come all the way back, because she was really young and she was really upset. So she decides that she's just going to leave with her boyfriend and have her boyfriend to take her back to her dad's. So as time goes on, my friend was going through a divorce, and she decided she wanted to come here and stay. So she's back here in the back bedroom, and I am laying in my bed and I am sleeping. And she comes and she knocks on my door and she's like, "What did you want?" And I'm like, "What do you mean, what did I want?" She was like, "Didn't you just come past my door?" And I'm like, "No, I've been laying here in my bed. I was sleeping." And, I let that go. But then my husband's father came from Mexico, and he doesn't speak any English at all. And the exact same thing happened to him. He was outside when my husband pulled up, and my husband asked him, "What are you doing outside?" He said, "Well, I just saw Susan come past my door, and I saw her go outside, and I was just looking to see where she's at." So they came inside, and when my husband opened the door, I was in my bed. So I knew that, one speaks English, one speaks Spanish. I knew that, I was like, hey, something's going on. So now I'm fixing to say something, and if anybody it has to do with death, so I just wanted to warn you of that. So in 2004, my youngest son was here. And here, I'm still not liking this house. I still tell my husband there's something about this house. I don't like it, and I want to move. And in 2004, my son was out in the front yard helping me plant flowers, and he got into a minor argument with my daughter, my youngest daughter. It only lasted for like 5 minutes, and they went back to talking, and everything was fine. Well, the next morning at 8 o'clock in the morning, I could hear my daughter screaming, and she was just screaming, and you know when something's wrong. And so I get up and I'm like, "What is wrong?" And she's like, "Look, Mama, look what my brother done." And when I looked, my son had hung himself. And I told my husband, I said, "It's this house. I know it's this house." Wow. It made no sense. My son, it was just a minor argument. He was fine. And it went from that to what my son done. And then in 2007, I go into the living room and I find my father dead. And I was like,
"Well, sorry to hear that. That's awful." Both,
Yes. And then in 2009, my sister, who had cancer, actually overdosed on my couch. And so I had to call the ambulance and have her taken to the hospital. And as all of this is going on, you just get the uneasy. Nobody wants to come here. Nobody wants to stay. And you still get this uneasy feeling about this house. And you have people telling you stuff, that's happening in the house. You see the stuff happening, and, you're like, I just told my husband, I said, I've got to leave. And then my daughter told me, "Well, why don't you just call someone and have someone to come and look at the house?" So I did. They blessed the house, and ever since they did that, I have not had any more trouble. I don't have that uneasy feeling. It was like the house was so dark, and then it's just like a light came on. But so much stuff went on. Stuff that I cannot explain. And, you see it with your eyes, and then it was just, from the very get-go, I just did not want to move in this house. And then so I actually talked to the person that owned the house, and there had been more people that had actually died in this house, because this house is like over 100 years old. But once I had the house blessed, it all went away.
Yeah, that's like the Paul Yoler story. He had the shadow people on the walls. It's in one of my videos. Then he had his mother came over and blessed the house, and then nothing's come back since. That's when he started believing in this stuff. So God, that's just so awful too for you.
Yes, it is.
What made you not move? Why not move? Get the hell out of there, type of thing. That's what I would be doing. Like, oh my God, this is a.
Well, see, I did, but my husband, he was like, "Well, let me cut the tree down," because, it took a long time for my husband to actually realize, when he started to see, I left him home at 1 o'clock in the morning because I wanted a snack. So I went to the store, and when I come back, he had all the lights on. And then he cut, he cut the tree down, and he got to realize, hey, something's not right. So that's when we called that paranormal team to come in, and like I said, they blessed the house, and it was just like, they were actually telling me things that happened in the house that I knew for a fact that happened in the house, and I was like, wow. And when I would try to move, like say I would go look at another house, I would go look at it, and then it was just like something would just pull me right back to this house. It was like I wanted to get away, but I couldn't get away. It was just really weird.
Yeah. God, what a... So, but now that you live there, what are your... I mean, it had so much... there's so much
trauma.
Negativity for you. I mean, it seemed like it'd just be like, I got to get the hell out of here, What about the house?
I do plan on doing that. This is going to be my last year here. But then, in a sense, I still feel like that if I leave, I'm still going to be drawn back to this house, because this is the last place that I saw my son. It's the last place that I saw my sister. The last place that I saw my father. Even
I get that.
It's like I can leave and go to the next town, and I just want to hurry up and come back home. It's just like the house just pulls you back.
Well, it's also you have that connection too. That's like that's the last place that they were alive. So
yes,
yeah.
Did
they all?
I told my husband.
I mean, all three of them passed away. That even the overdose.
Yes.
Wow, that's amazing. That's crazy.
Yes, and and other people had died here too in this house, but he did not tell me until after my sister had actually passed away. He told me that other people had died here too, but I didn't like the house when I first moved in. And I told my husband, I said, no, there's something about that house that I absolutely do not like. I can't pinpoint it, but there's just something about it I don't like. And he was like, oh no, it's a nice house, come on, And so I did, and started seeing things. I mean, my father-in-law, and I knew that what they were saying was true, because he's all the way from Mexico. He comes here and sees the exact same thing. And then you would think that after that happened with my son that I would have moved. But when I tried, we just couldn't. It was like I was just pulled right back to the house. And now nothing happens. I mean, everything is fine. We don't see things, we don't hear things, nothing goes on, and I don't know if it's because they blessed the house or what.
So I guess what you should do is every time you move into a house, the first thing you do is bless it, right?
Right. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I do plan on moving this year, and I will definitely have that done. I don't know. I mean, I don't even think it's such a small town, and the people in my town knows about the house, so I don't even think that anyone would buy this house.
No, I
mean, you might find somebody crazy enough out there too, but I don't know. I know I wouldn't.
Yeah, well, I can imagine if people have heard what's happened there, they're not going to be buying it.
Yes. It's a very, very... I mean, we only have, like, one stoplight, so that's how small it is. Unless it's someone, like, from another town or something, maybe they would, but I hope they don't have the same problems that, I did. But it's just... and my kids, they wouldn't stay here. I mean, they would not spend the night. My grown daughter, when she would come here, she's like, nope, I'm not sleeping in the spare room. I'm sleeping right on your floor in there with you and my stepdaddy. I'm not sleeping in the spare room. So we put her right in here in our room.
Yeah, well, I'm sure they felt safer being in with you in there, but...
Yes.
Man, that says I don't even know if I could stay there. I just would want to get out, just to have different thoughts. Like, I mean, if I had 3 family members die in the one house, I think I personally would be like, I got to get out of here. Yeah. But again, I see what you're saying, because you're sort of near the, where they were, so.
Yes. But when I did try that, it was like the house would just pull me right back. Like if
Yeah.
I was away from the house and I was looking at other houses, it was like it would never go through. Something would happen, and it was just like the house just made, I was just drawn right back to the house. And once I got to the house, everything was okay, as long as I didn't go looking at other houses.
Yeah. Well, the craziest part of your story, though, is the Chucky like doll, you know, or whatever it was, the toy, you know.
Yeah.
Because you know, if it doesn't have batteries, it's not supposed to be working.
Well, that's the first thing that happened, and because I told her, I said, well, take the battery out. She's like, I did, and it's still doing it. So we get here, and it's just a cash register, and one of those toy cash registers, and it would say, thank you, ma'am, come again. So my husband takes the batteries out, and we're like, what? How could that possibly do that? And he's like, I don't know, but he took it outside, and he beat it up with his hammer.
Yeah.
That was the first thing that started, the very first thing that happened. And then it just, from there, it just went to people die. You know, my loved ones dying in my home.
What year was that?
My son died in 2004, my dad in 2007, my sister in 2009.
And the doll? What year was the doll incident?
Oh, that happened in, I want to say 2001. Yes.
Jesus. Yeah, that's.
I don't know.
See, that's sort of like, that's the same thing my friend Ada did. She told this whole story, and the part she thought was creepy wasn't. I mean, for me, in your story, the weirdest part is the you know, a doll working without batteries, because that's one of those things it's physically impossible to have happened, and yet it was still working. See?
And see, I didn't believe my daughter when she was telling me that. I thought she just wanted us to come home, but no.
Yeah.
And then I have another one, you know, and then you would hear, like, I mean, everybody saw the shadow people. There's nobody that was not affected by that. My mom just totally stayed away from my house. It's just, I mean, but now it's just like when they blessed the house, it just, I mean, you could just tell the day that they done it, it's just like a ton of bricks had been lifted off of your shoulders.
Yeah. Jeez. Well, gosh, I mean, I appreciate you calling in to tell your story. It's like...
Thank you.
I'm sorry that
Thank
for
you.
all your loss, but I appreciate you calling in.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, everyone, we'll talk to you in the
then.
chat.
Bye.
All right, talk to you later. All right, bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, well, the lines are open again. If anybody was trying to call in. Man, that was crazy. Yeah, Gollum. I think that's a Hasidic creature. Let's see. So do we have any other callers calling in? I was going to read the story by Slick Vic earlier. It was short. It said, she said, I have had many. So that's where okay. But this one made me move out of my house the next day. So I came home from work late that day. My son was with his father for the weekend. I hopped in the shower, brushed my teeth, and then, due to the time, it was about 11 p.m., I turned on the TV in my room and turned my light off. My miniature poodle, Pepe, was on the couch in the living room. From where my bed was in my room, I could see down the hall where he was sleeping. I was watching the news when, out of the corner of my eye, I saw a black, see-through figure coming down my hallway. He was wearing a long coat and a hat on his head. Does that sound familiar to anybody there, by the way? Pepe saw it too. Pepe jumped off the couch, barking very loudly, running down the hall as this figure was about to turn into my room. The hallway was tiled. As Pepe got closer, he put his brakes on and slid into the figure, which dissolved right in front of the door to my room. After that, I obviously could not sleep. I was up for the rest of the night. Next morning, I called my landlord and told him about what had happened. He knew exactly what I was talking about and who it was. It was his father who died in the house several years earlier in the very room I was sleeping in. I said it would have been nice of you to tell me this before I moved in, only a month earlier. He said every time I tell a potential renter they don't want to live in the house. I told him promptly that I won't be living there after today. I have also had good experience with sightings. Okay, well, then she goes on to something else. But see, you got the long coated in the dark trench coat. Same story that other people have told. Remember last week? I think there was 2. All right, so who's calling in? Everybody said, "Oh, I got a story." So call in and tell your story. It was look it. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, because this show right now is purely driven on your stories, okay? And that's what I was saying, is I don't know, if we don't get a certain amount of people in here that actually have different stories that they want to tell, then I don't know how it, if we can keep doing the lives all the time. Well, just do it anyways, Jess. Nobody can see your face, just... Man, thanks. Well, let's hear it, Charlotte. Well, just... Let's see. You can't call in? Phoenix Firebear? I'll give it 5 minutes and then we'll just have a short show then. Because I need, this is what it's all about, is people calling up telling their stories. You can't be on here and go, well, I don't want to call because I don't want to. If you're here, that's what we're doing. We're trying to document everybody's stories, okay? Yeah, well, I can't do that, Jeff. Doing something else. I got other things to worry about. Yeah, I mean, the show isn't really, it doesn't have, it's not, I don't have another story to go to, right? This is for you guys to call in and tell your stories. And then knowing that the show's on at a specific time, you would call in and tell your story. Yeah. That looks like here's one right here. Hello, this is 559. Who's this?
Hi, this is Sylvie Moon.
Sylvie Moon. All right, what's going on?
Hey, Greg. So I wanted to just share a story. Oh, and hello, freaks. I just wanted to share a story about, it's funny. I'm listening to these stories and I'm like, I don't have any paranormal stories, but I like listening to them. And then I was thinking, oh, my son's had some experiences. And then I thought, I do too. It's funny. I'm remembering a time when I was in college, and it was like from college, like 20, maybe from ages like 23 to about 28. I was having these really horrible, like, night terrors. And when I was in bed, I'd feel like there was I could feel like a shadow in the corner of the room. I'd wake up in the middle of the night, usually about 2-3 o'clock in the morning, maybe 4, and just from a nightmare. And then I'd feel like there was this shadow in the room, like a woman, like
Wow.
a dark shadow. And I would be so frozen with fear that I remember just laying in bed for like hours, sometimes just unable to move, and just really having a hard time in my life at that time. And I was having a lot of like really, really scary nightmares as well. And I remember going to like my roommates' rooms and just telling them, hey guys, I'm having like, I finally get the guts to get up and run out of the room, run to turn the lights on, because I could feel and see the shadow, and I could feel the woman in the corner. And then as that was happening, I realized that actually happened to me when I was younger.
How could
when
you
I
tell
was a
that
little
was
girl.
how could you tell that was a woman with a shadow?
I saw her in a dream. Like, it was almost like the dreams and the because I was so tired, I was getting really, really horrible sleep. I was having insomnia, and then I was just exhausted all the time. And I was having all these really weird dreams, and she was in my dream. And so I just had the feeling it was the same person. I don't know. It was just instinctual, I guess, just sort of a feeling. Yeah, so I don't know if there's anything that other people have experienced like that, where, they see a woman or some kind of like demonic kind of like a icky demonic figure in the corner. Yeah, and I got those things where I couldn't move. I'd just be so afraid to look. And then I'd look, and then I could just see a shadow, but it was so dark. By that time, I think I'd just gotten myself so terrified. But I remember that happening when I was a child. And we had just moved out to this house. We built on this brand new land out in the country. And in that house, I started to experience I remember it was the same kind of feeling where I would just get stuck, and I'd scream and yell until my mom came into the room, and she would have to sleep with me for a while. And that went on for a few years. And then in that same bedroom, once I had my son, I was in my 30s, and we had moved in with my parents for a short time, and he was sleeping in that bedroom, and he said he would see the same. He saw an old man. He said he saw an old man in the bedroom. And that's what reminded me of all of this. Was I remember my son telling me that. He was like 4. And he said, Mom, something really scary is happening to me in this room. I keep seeing this old man in here. And he described the old man like in overalls, and I don't know, but he was really scared. I'd never seen him scared like that before. And so we were just kind of talking about, he said he saw it several times. And the old man was walking around the house as well. So I don't know, maybe there was something in the land that we moved into. I have no idea, but I just know that this night terror thing happened to him as well. He would feel like something was in the room. He didn't describe what it was. He just said he felt like someone was watching him when he was sleeping. And that was exactly how I felt in that very room. And then in college too, although that was a different space, it was just, I don't know, maybe it followed me. I don't know. I mean, I don't really know much about that stuff.
Yeah, but did you ever... So it's always in the corner of your eye, though, right? You could just see it.
Yeah, like if I went to look at it, it would just be so dark that it'd be really hard to figure it out. But it would be in the corner of my eye. Like I'd never really got a full glimpse of it.
Oh, wow. Huh.
Yeah, just talking about it is freaking me out. I mean, it's funny too because it just suddenly stopped. Like it was getting really bad, especially in college. It was like I didn't even want to go to bed anymore. Because I just thought, oh, crap, you know, and it didn't matter at that point where I went. It just followed me. Like if I was staying at a friend's, if I was traveling, if, you know, it would show up. So usually in the middle of the night, you know, not before, sometimes as I was falling asleep, because, you know, when you're falling asleep, you're getting real vulnerable, but you're still sort of aware. Yeah. So anyways.
Yeah. People are complaining
just wanted to share that.
People are complaining about buffering on here, but the problem is I don't really have any way to, it's not buffering on YouTube. I can see it. You know, it's green.
No, mine, yeah. Looks like my
good.
chat's still rolling through pretty well.
Yeah, so I don't know. I don't know what to tell them. It's like they tell me, but I can't do anything about it, so there's really no point of telling me. You know what I mean? It's like, hey, Gray, you're buffering. Well, okay. If I was a weird cyber creature, I'd go in and start fixing the whatever it is that's making it buffer, but I'm not doing it. You know, and it's not even. I mean, I could show it my screen. It's green, got really good stream health, and I see it clocking on YouTube, but
it looks like people are rolling through again. Looks like it's getting no buffering for me, says Claudia.
Yeah, so I have the fastest internet you can buy. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
So it has nothing to do with you know, on this end over here. I don't know. I mean, the other night it was having problems, and then my internet went off for some reason. Like after that. Like at the end of the show, I don't know if it was related or not, but literally my modem went off, but it's working now.
I have the problem sometimes when it's buffering, and then I just close the whole window, like everything, and then I just open up the whole thing again, you know, and that seems to do it.
Yeah, try that, everybody.
So, yeah, I mean, I just close up the page and just, you know, and then come back into the live. That's what works for me. I don't know if it'll work for everybody else, but
yeah.
Well,
there's a lot of people that have your same experience, I've noticed.
Yeah, I noticed that too. That's really I don't want to say encouraging, but it's comforting because I feel like sometimes when I look back at that time, I'm like, was I, you know, losing it or what the heck was going on? It felt like I was being haunted. It's weird. It's just really, it's hard to talk about because I feel like it's a little embarrassing. I don't know why. I guess I just feel like maybe I was going crazy, but I'm not crazy. Well, maybe I'm a little crazy. I'm a freak, but, you know, I'm here on Paranormal Experiences, and I watch your other lives too, you know, with the true crime. So, you know,
yeah, I'm doing what Jeff Fiedler.
Like
I'm trying to do what Jeff Fiedler said and read everybody's comments. So what's somebody said? What happened after your son saw the Shadow Man? And by the way, there's two people on hold here. I see two people on hold, so don't hang up. I see you. Okay, you just can't talk yet. You're on mute. All right, so go ahead. So what did your son?
So what we did was we actually decided we were going to pray. I mean, I don't want to get religious in here with everybody, but that's what we did. And I just asked for a little guide that was peaceful and kind to come in and remove the Shadow Man from the room and whatever else. And my son actually took on, I know this sounds crazy, but he took on, like, it was his own thing. I mean, he was 4 years old. He's like, I feel my spirit, like my little protector is a dragon. And then he kind of like had this dragon friend for like a year that protected him. And that seemed to kind of end the whole thing, because he would say, I feel scared. And then we'd talk about the dragon, and then he'd just go back to sleep. But I would stay with him in the room. I wasn't seeing the Shadow Man at that time anymore, but I stayed in the room with him until that period passed. So that's kind of what happened with that.
Hey, people are saying
Yeah.
the stream stopped buffering right after your story stopped. Bam!
So creepy.
What
Oh
are the
my gosh,
odds,
how funny.
huh? That's what J.K.
Yeah,
said.
these
Of course, he has
The
J
Shadow Man.
vision. So
the shadow person was blocking the signal or something. I don't know. And
be
yeah,
gone,
so
Shadow
Oh,
Man.
there is
Okay.
there is one more story. Oh my gosh, I'm just remembering this one.
Wait.
Do you have time, or do you want?
Well, there's two other callers. Yeah, maybe keep that one so then we have another.
I'll save
yeah.
it. I'll
Yeah.
save it for the next time.
Yeah,
and then
cool.
I'll
That'd
put
be
it
great.
together for us. Okay,
Yeah,
thanks,
awesome.
Gray.
Yeah, thanks for calling in. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Bye
Talk
bye.
to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
All right. See you. Okay. So I think it was 414. Let me unmute you.
That's me.
There you go. That's you. Who's you?
Charlotte.
Oh, Charlotte. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Hey.
It doesn't say your name on the screen, so I wouldn't know.
It doesn't?
No, it just.
Okay. Are we live?
Yes, we are live. You're on the air, Charlotte.
Hey, everybody. Hi, freaks. Nice to meet all of you. Here's my experience. But you're still talking to her, it sounds like.
No, you need to turn down your audio. You can't have it playing at the same time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Ready?
Yep.
Here's my story. I work in nursing, and I've been in hospitals and nursing homes and rehab centers, and quite a few times people have passed away in a bedroom, or they fall on the floor and they pass away as well. And they all have distinctive personalities, each person that I've taken care of that have passed away. So one experience I can give you is I had a very, very combative female that I took care of. And you don't use medication to sedate people, to calm them down. So this lady had Alzheimer's, and she was crazy. She used to bite me, beat me, choke me, pull my hair, whatever. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So it got to the point where, she stopped eating, she stopped drinking, because as the Alzheimer's advances, these people don't want to eat or drink, and they can't swallow food anymore, and they can't think, but still very combative. Okay, so I've had my ass kicked a few times, and she passed away. So they took a lady, a very sweet little lady, and they moved her out of her room, and they put her into that room where that lady was living for a few years. Well, this little sweet lady became exactly like the lady that was combative and crazy and, wouldn't let you help her, wouldn't let you touch her, biting, pulling your hair, trying to strangle you. She became exactly like the lady that died in that room. Now, I don't know if anyone else has experienced this, but I've experienced it many, many, many times working in hospitals and nursing homes.
Almost like she transferred into somebody else.
Isn't that crazy? Because that's exactly what I was thinking. And
yeah.
I noticed one more thing. Where I work now, every time, I've only been there for about a year, and this one man passed away. He was yelling, he's tired of living, he wants to die, okay? And he wouldn't eat, he wouldn't drink. He was supposed to be rehabbing, but on the other hand, his family said, well, he's not doing anything, so let's let him go. So the whole family would sit in the room around him every day, and he decided this is it. He just kept yelling at me, I just want to die, I just want to die. So I told the family, he's not going to eat, he's not going to drink, and he's adamant about dying. And they said, okay, fine. Well, one day when the family wasn't around, I said to him, so you just want to die, huh? And he goes, yeah, and if you don't like it, too bad. And I just want to die. I wish I could just die right now. And I said, well, I'm sorry, I can't help you with that. So then I was off, and then I went to work the following day, and he had passed away. Now, every single person that comes into that room has that same personality. They just want to give up living. They're supposed to come back for rehab, but instead they say and they yell, I want to die. I don't want to live anymore. They don't eat. They don't drink. They carry on the same characteristics of the person that formerly was in that room. And it's the same thing over and over and over throughout all the years. In my work, I've seen this.
Yeah, you hear people also, like if somebody gets an organ or something from some other person, that they start picking up some of their personality or something. I mean, I don't know if that, you just hear people mention that story. But in this case, it seems like it's not really that. It's almost like... a
spiritual thing, maybe?
Yeah, there's like a... What you're, maybe
like an entrance of the spirit?
Yeah, that's just going into each of the people that show up in that room. But this person died, right? Like, did that person die and then...
And just like right away, as soon as someone dies, they clean out the room, they get it all cleaned up and everything, and then right away, a new person comes in. Now, this is rehab. This is where people are supposed to be rehabbing. And I don't know why they continue to let the people who start dying stay in a room that someone's supposed to rehab. So they go on hospice, and the family waits there for them to die. I know it has a lot to do with money, of course, but I don't know all the statistics as far as money is concerned, because I don't care about that part of it, only that I get paid. Now, here's another one real quick. I was taking care of a lady at her house, and I decided to do it just for the extra money, along with my other job. And I work second shift. So at that time, I worked third shift, and me and my friend Rhonda, we split up this job. We'd go to this one lady's house, and the house was cluttered. It was a disaster. It was hoarding big time, and the roof was leaking, and this poor lady, she was in her 80s, and she had to succumb to kidney failure. She couldn't walk, so she was a Hoyer lift and everything like that. Anyway, what I'm getting to here is I would walk down the hallway when I would stay overnight there, and there was a bedroom door that was shut, and it was locked from the inside, so I couldn't open it. There was no way I could open it to look in there or whatever. So finally the daughter and her husband came the next day, and I said, if I'm going to be staying here a few days, where can I sleep? I mean, they had a hospital bed in the living room for her. But I said, I guess I could sleep on the recliner. And they were like, oh, no. We'll bring a twin bed in, and we'll put it in there. And she finally unlocked the door, and the room had cobwebs, spider webs, everything all over the place. And I decided, well, I'll clean it up for you guys, okay? I'll just do it while I'm here watching your mom. So I cleaned it up, and I made the bed, and I just kept saying, why won't any of you come into this room? No one would tell me anything. So I went into the room, and I slept there on that bed after it was all cleaned up and everything. Well, it was nighttime, and all of a sudden, I broke into a major sweat. Now, it's summertime, the air conditioning's on. It's freezing cold in that house. Okay, there's no reason why I should have all of a sudden got real sick to my stomach, break out in a sweat. My heart started racing. So I got up and I left the room, and I started feeling better. But every time I went to sleep in that room when I stayed overnight, I felt sick. So finally, another daughter who lived too far away came into town, and she came to the house, and she said, oh, she's like, you're finally, someone's using that room. I said, I'm using that room. I said, but your sister and her husband don't even want to walk into that room. I said, what's up with that? And she said, oh, my two brothers died in that room, like on separate occasions. One was an alcoholic, had liver failure. The other one had cancer. and it spread to the body. And then the husband died. They all died in that room. And nobody would go into that room because of it. So I just thought that was strange that every time I went into that room, I would just, get real sick and sweaty and nasty and everything else. Like, what the hell? So, well, she passed away. The house is still there. It's still cluttered and everything. And the only thing I can think of is, maybe they should just burn it down. Because I don't think anyone's going to want to live in that house now. Like 4 people have died in that house now. What do you think? What do you think about that? I don't think anyone's going to buy it.
Well, it's similar to the last person, or 2 stories ago, right? I mean, she had all those deaths in the house. I mean, I don't know if anybody... I think you have the mic, you have your audio on or something. I heard an echo.
I do?
Well, maybe not.
How do I turn it off? Do I just...
Well, you just have to use it... Like, you're on a phone, right? Calling the show?
Yeah, I'm on a cell phone.
Yeah, so you don't even have the audio on at all when you're on the phone. You just have to be on the phone as if you're talking to your mom or something, or a cousin, or a friend, right? I mean, you're just talking. You don't like when people call.
Can you hear me?
Well, there was just a moment where I heard myself, so now I don't.
Oh,
it must be a ghost.
Can they hear me on your show?
Yeah, they can hear you. You just can't. All it is just you get the feedback loop. That's the problem. So.
Oh, well, I'm watching you on the screen right now, and I'm just, Hey, has anyone ever brought up anything about getting a big slam on the side of their house or anything like that? Or is it just me? Cause
there's other stories similar to that. But what you should do is save some of your other stories for different shows so that we can, you can call in and tell another one.
Okay.
I got somebody else on hold here too. They've been on hold for like.
All right, I'm going to hang up now. Then. Nice talking to you.
You don't have to rush. Like, I gotta go. But anyways, yeah, thanks for calling in. That was cool, Charlotte.
Okay, bye, Greg.
All right, have a good one. See you. Bye. All right, 980. You're on the air.
Hi there.
Hey.
Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
Hey there. It's El Marseille. You can call me El.
Hey, El.
How are you doing?
Not bad. Not bad.
Anyway, I have so many stories, and they're all true. And as I've been listening to everyone, I'm trying to figure out, where I should go or what's resonating. And I don't know. I've always lived in really old homes, like growing up and all of that. And both of my parents have a lot of, like furniture and everything that they have inherited or purchased, things like that. My dad was an auctioneer, so he was always buying things like that. And I don't know if that has a lot to do with a lot of the crazy things that happen, or if it's just the home, or because all of our homes have been blessed and all of that, or if it's us. But there gets to a point where it's like, like, what is going on? Even if, you just decide, I'm not seeing what I'm seeing, I'm not hearing what I'm hearing, this is not happening. Someone will say, did you just see that? Or did you just hear that? The dogs start acting weird. That, like, there are things that you just cannot not. Then it gets into crazy making or whatever. But anyway, I'm still trying to figure out what's the best story with this time, because I know there's so many people that have to share. I'm just going to go with where we are now. We bought this home where we are, and I will let you know I am an only child, and we made a quality decision. I knew that my father was failing in his health, and he has since passed on, and he's of blessed memory. And being an only child, and I'm also a registered nurse, I knew that he would need advanced medical care or nursing care. Let's just put it that way. And we had, didn't have to, but he had always said, please don't put me in a nursing home, which was important to him, and I understand that. And it's like, you don't have to worry about that, Pop. You know, we got you covered. And long story short, my ex-husband at the time, now he's my ex-husband, but my husband at the time, had to take a job in another state. So, like I said, I'm an only child, and I told my parents, I'm like, look, I don't foresee myself flying every weekend or every other week to come up here. Y'all are going to have to come with us. And it was done with love. I just want you to know. I mean, this is how we are. We're like a bandload of gypsies. And so we got a house. Everyone has their corner. Everyone has their everything, and that's all good. And saying that, we knew that this was an old house. It was an old house. And but we didn't know, and what we weren't told, it was an old soldiers' home at one time. And when I say old soldiers, I don't know if that resonates with anyone. But Greg, do you know what I'm talking about when I say that?
Old soldiers? Huh?
Yeah, the old soldiers' homes, you know, because I don't know if...
No, I don't know.
This wasn't an area that had like a nursing home or the veterans home, you know, like a place where the older soldiers could go. And so they really pretty much made it like a group home for older men, you know, old men, old soldiers from like World War I.
Oh, okay.
And, you know, like that. And I guess World War II, if they were severely injured or whatever, they had no family. They had no kinfolk, you know, like that. And so, and it's kind of funny, every now and again, even though it's been owned by the man that built the house was an old physician and his wife, and then they sold it, and those people made it an old soldiers' home, and then it still stayed in their family though. Then it became residential, you know, back to family living, and then I think it's been 4 owners, and then us.
Yeah.
And so you got that free radical. So getting to the creepy story, and it's kind of like a layered creepy story. When we moved from where we were living before till now, my dad, like I said, he was an auctioneer. He had a lot of businesses and this, that, and the other, and he had a lot of stuff and things. But one thing he had was a Mercedes sedan that he kept in his garage, and it was Audubon, and in that he kept the ashes of an old Nazi soldier. This is important, okay? That's important. So keep that in the just like everyone, just put that in a shelf, on the shelf, or put it in a drawer, because we're going to revisit that. So when, and he always told my mother, never, you know, don't ever bring this out, just keep it here. And he had it in the trunk in his garage back home. And he had a big garage. It was a 4-car garage. And so she's like, okay, never dreaming that we're going to become, you know, we're moving lives, having to come down here. And when we moved down here, we had like 4 big Mayflower trucks. That's a lot of stuff. And the ashes of the old Nazi soldier, one of the moving guys said, "Oh, where do you want this?" And I'm just like, for now, not thinking anything, because I never got that about the ashes. Just put it in my closet. I have a walk-in closet, because I mean, we're moving in, and so that's where the ashes went. Well, like I said, we moved in, we settled in, all of this, all of that, and every now and again, we would hear whistling, and it was a very distinct whistling, like an anxious whistle, and it was a man's whistle, and then it would suddenly stop, and then you would hear like boots on the ground, boots on the floor, and then that thud, 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 and it would come out of my son's bedroom. And my son would be in school, he would be playing ball, he would be out and about doing what kids do. And we knew that no one was here. And it was so loud. Like if we were downstairs, we could hear it from the other side of the house, from the front of the house, from under my son's bedroom. On the first floor would have been my parents' master bedroom. It was, and when I tell you this is a quality made house, it was substantial. And then the steps started getting closer. It would go in the foyer towards my daughter's room, but it would stop right at her door. It would never go in. And
let me ask you something really quick. Why were you guys keeping, or whoever was keeping, the Nazi ashes? Like, what was that all about?
We see this is a part of this is where I need for you that's why we had to put that in the drawer, okay?
Yeah, but I'm just going to ask the question. I'm just wondering why somebody kept them.
Okay, well, see, what happened was my father used to take care of this where he had his business. He would there was an elderly couple. They were friends. They shared a residence. One lived upstairs, one lived downstairs. One was a translator at the Nuremberg trials. The other was a retired investment banker. Okay, of just nice folks, like that. And he would make sure they had their groceries, that they had their doctor's appointments, their prescriptions. He made sure that their sidewalks, and he did this just out of the kindness of his heart, because that's how my dad was, just checking on everybody. He always checked in on people. And as what had happened was the old man, the old investment banker, had passed away, and my dad was in the process of he had left his last will and testament, and he had no family, and he pretty much left everything to my dad. Okay, and my dad was like, "What the?" And he had left, as my father being the executor of his will, had left finances for him and my mom and for the family to go and to take his ashes to, I believe it was the Black Forest, and to just drop them there. And if for whatever reason that his wishes could not be made, if we could not do that, that we would take him to a body of water or to the mountains. He had to be the highest mountains wherever we were.
Right, but this is the guy. This is the guy that's he worked at the Nuremberg. This is a Nazi.
This was a Nazi. His roommate, Miss Mary, was she was the Nuremberg translator. She was a translator during the Nuremberg trials.
Okay, but your father checked in on which person? They
lived together. They lived together in the same home.
Okay,
they shared their yes, the old man and Miss Mary.
Okay, so the old man who's a Nazi, and
yeah, he was.
They lived together with your dad. Is what you're saying? Or?
No. They lived. Okay. He had built a relationship with them over maybe 30, 40 years.
So he was like so he was like the executor, and then he wanted your dad to take his ashes to the Black Forest. I think that's over in Germany, isn't it? Like, right over there?
In Germany.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, in Germany. Yeah, and what had happened was my father was in the process of getting that all, getting it all squared away, and my father had a major cardiac. He had a heart attack. He had a major heart attack, and that took him out of business, and he wasn't cleared for international flight. And so what he did was he just put Mr. Hessler, but he never said anything he never said that he was a Nazi, okay? We just thought they were just nice, just a retired. He would check in on him when we would be in the area. It was a friendly relationship. It was like, I can't, it's just like your neighbor person, if that makes any sense. Like a nice neighbor, nice old neighbor.
Yeah, he was basically hiding what he once was, basically.
Yeah, and but my father didn't know this until he was, with taking care of his personal effects. Does that make any, my father didn't know this.
Right, yeah, he was taking care of his effects, and he found there was ashes. So now go back. Now go back to your story, where you were before. Okay, so you can go back to that point.
Where we live now, it was an old soldiers' home, and activity started pretty much after we had emptied the boxes and all of this. And now we've been here for almost 12 years. It's still going on, but not as badly. I'm going to be honest with you. But every now and again, it'll flash up. But it's always in. And my son has moved on. He lives in another state, but it always seems to be his room. Heavy boots, whistling, and then the boots will like hit the floor. You can literally feel them walking. They'll walk through our computer room, and we have a family room up here. Go in our service area. We have service steps in the back. You will literally hear thud, 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 like an angry man with boots. We call them heavy boots. And then he'll stop right at the bottom, not on the bottom landing, but at the last step before the bottom landing. It's like that's where his area of demarcation is, if that makes any sense. Like he can't go past that for whatever reason. And it is so creepy. I have come home from work. I have come home from just living life and coming home, and all of the dogs will be in the foyer all together, scared, and they'll be looking up the front foyer steps, because from our front foyer we have a banister, it's like the spindle banister, and they'll be looking up there like, oh, mommy, please help. There's something going on up there. But I've literally opened the door. I know that no one else is here because I don't see anyone's car. It's just me, right, home. And as I'm coming in, I will hear whistling. I will hear the whistling, and it's always the same tune. And Gray, I wish I could whistle for y'all because it's so creepy, but it's like it's keeping cadence. Like the way I imagine like a soldier, if they were, doing a long haul or something, they would be keeping that cadence. And it's very distinctive, and I just wish I could whistle. It is so creepy though. And when you hear it, I know I'm not the only one. I mean, this whole house has been filled, and we've heard the boots, we've heard the whistling. My son was such a rascal. He would be in there, and all of his friends would be throughout the upstairs here playing their computer games. You know how they all do that, PlayStation and such. And he would be whistling, and the guy would start whistling with Joey. And this is true. I mean, I wish to God I was making this up. And Joey would stop short just to trick him, and the ghost would do like an extra beat and then stop. I mean, it's insane. It's absolutely insane. And when I tell you this, it's like, it's crazy. I mean, as I'm giving you these words, and I'm telling, it's insane. But anyway, so it was getting so bad. The knocking, the boot walking, the creepy, that's the thing, the other thing. You could see a shadow guy, and there were two different shadow guys. One was like a slow walker, and it sort of shuffled and had very broad shoulders, small waist, and was about 6'2". And I say that because I'm close to 6 feet, okay? And it was at least 2 inches taller than me. And it was so dense that it made a shadow. The shadow guy made a shadow. How does a shadow guy make a shadow? When a shadow guy looks in through another room into the bedroom or into the family room, like creeping, if that makes any sense. And you can see their shadow up against the wall. Scare the hell out of you. I'm serious. And I mean, honest to God, crazy. And then there was a smaller one. The shuffler was the same way. And but heavy boots, you can hear him, and then the sudden stop, and then but he has this really negative kind of leering energy, creeper energy. And but the other one, when he popped up, that was the one that it was like, oh, okay, now we're going to have to come to an end of this. This should be bananas, and I'm sorry. Please forgive my language. but it was crazy. And I remember saying, you know, where is this all coming from, and why is it happening now? And you have to know, life is not in a vacuum. You know, we have a lot of people in the house, a lot of coming and going, but it was getting so bad that over supper we all talked about it. And let me preface this. When I tell you we were all talking about it, my daughter, who's since married, all of her friends, college friends, they're all talking about it. My son and his squad, they're all here talking about it. We were having a family dinner, and it was like a meeting talking about this. And it's like, what is going on? And the girls were reporting their things. The guys were reporting their things. My mom's reporting her things. And it's like, okay, so what's new? Has anyone has anyone been anywhere or done anything? Or because they go on those ghost hunts. They do all that stuff. They do those, what are they called? Urban expeditions, or, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
How the kids do that. Did y'all pick up something? Because that's the one thing. We don't take hitchhikers. I call them spiritual hitchhikers. We have enough of our own. Don't bring anything home.
Hold on. I need to. You're kind of going all over the place here. I mean, when you're.
I don't mean to.
If you're going to tell, I know you're not. I know you don't mean to, but I want people to be interested in what you're saying, because I think you're losing the interest. So let me just get back to what I want to do is ask you questions now. No, let me just ask you. Hello. I'm speaking. Can you hear me? I'm just going to ask the questions. Okay, so did you ever put the ashes in Germany? Were they ever put there? Did your dad ever get them over there? Okay, so they weren't put there. So you think maybe the ashes that are still, do you still have the urn in the house there?
No.
Okay.
No. What happened was this. I know, I prayed, I asked the Lord. He said, you have the Nazi, you have, what was the word that he used? It was devoted to destruction. Items that are devoted to destruction. That was what came to me in my dream. I know that sounds crazy. And I had said at this family dinner, I said, Mom, I got this thing where there are items that are devoted to destruction. And my mother just looked at me and she's like, what are you talking about? I said, I don't know. I said, what would be devoted to destruction? I said, what about Nazi stuff or whatever, something like that? I don't even know why I said that. And my mom just looked at me and she said, oh my God. She said, I never wanted to tell you this, but Mr. Hessler, I found out Mr. Hessler was an SS soldier. And it's like, what? And she's like, now I know why your father never wanted anything to be brought into the main house. And I'm like, tell us more, and we're all listening. And with the move, she had things put in a lockbox, and she had taken things out of a lockbox and had brought them into the house, but she kept them out in the garage. And she had instances out in the garage that were similar to ours. And long story longer, and I'm so sorry, y'all. She got rid of those, and we all went and took Mr. Hessler's ashes to the mountain, and we had a service for him. And when I tell you, when we came home, all the everythings was we had a service, and up at the mountain site. There was, like, you know where they have the campsites where you can have a little fire? Yeah. The paperwork was burned, and all of his death certificate, all of that was burned. And when we came home, it was like the energy had been cleared.
Wait, but the thing is, so you burn all of the documents that showed that he was a Nazi, that kind of thing.
Yeah, but my mother had gotten rid of the other stuff.
Did you photocopy it at least? Because it'd been nice if you kept it on record. Because I'm one of the people that I don't think any Nazi should ever have got a freebie later on. Like,
oh, listen,
you sort of burn all of his documents. You're
talking to us, and we believe that too, in more ways than one. My father was Jewish.
Well, why did you burn the documents, though? I guess
because it was devoted to destruction. If something is devoted to, we could not be in it, on it, or around it. It was evil.
I see.
It was evil. And he had things. It was like my mom had evidently gotten rid of so much stuff. But I'm talking about the things that we had were like his birth certificate, his I would call them origination papers, his ID, his passport that was given to him in 1951 or 52, I can't remember, when he made passage from Europe over to South America. He did the rat hole. You know, he came up through Cuba, Florida, and then Pennsylvania. It's crazy. But he was SS, and he even had the tattoo under his arm. And
jeez, I would have turned him in. I would have actually had him turned in and arrested and tried.
He had died, though.
I'm sure he's killed people. I bet you he killed many people. That guy.
Oh yeah, he was not guiltless. Absolutely.
Right.
And the thing was this, and it took a child, from the mouth of children. It was the youngest one, and one of my son's friends is like, well, if this is an old soldier's home, an American, like American soldiers from World War I, World War II, Korea, like that, they would be really upset if a Nazi was here. Like that's who they fought. That's who they fought.
Yeah. No, I mean, but you guys should have photocopied or something the documents and turned them in so that his name wasn't like clean when he died. He should be one of those people that him and he should have shame on himself, because there isn't any SS soldiers that didn't kill anybody. There isn't anybody.
They weren't clean. They were not clean. No,
that's
I know.
Kind of polite.
And that's
way
the
to say
thing.
it. Yeah.
Oh, I know. It's absolutely horrific. But when I tell you, I had no idea. When I can't get over. If he was just a retired investment banker. I mean, there's so much I could get into with this, and I can't. But I thank you for y'all's time, and I'm sorry if I bored anyone.
No. I just wanted to get you back onto the story, because people were, a lot of people wanted to know what.
No. But there's so many ins and outs and what have yous. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But this place has been wild. This house has been wild.
Was everything good after you did you burned all the documents?
Everything calmed down. Well, what I was going to say is, it was like, when I tell you, if anyone's ever seen The Big Lebowski, when they got rid of Donnie's ashes, that was pretty much us, us getting rid of the stress. Like, it was crazy. And, but without all that craziness going on with it. But when the ashes blew back, it was like, get away from the ashes. And, but it was just, it was, everything about it was surreal, and I can only tell you, when we came home, it was just quiet, and there was peace. There was just peace here, and it was just one of the strangest things.
I think it's weird that he wanted to get buried back in the Black Forest. I mean, it's weird because that's where a lot of people were executed and killed. It's almost like he wanted to get back to the area where his barbarian behavior was able to,
I'm not adept in, or I'm not. Yeah. What's the word for? I don't know if it had to do with some sort of like how there's Valhalla, the Valkyries. Where did they take the Valkyries? Take the warriors to.
Oh, I don't know that. I'm not that. I'm just talking about.
I don't know if it had to do with that, because I knew he came from Dresden. He was born and reared in Dresden. So I don't know. That was very specific, and like I said, I wasn't in that information loop. My father kept it away from me because, Gray, I'm like you. I would have screamed it from the mountaintops. I would have called the consulate, the Israeli consulate, and gave him up.
God, yeah. They would have came over, kidnapped him, tried him, and hung him.
I did what it. I mean, honestly, and because that's how I am. And I can't believe I'm really speaking as coolly and calmly without tears, sharing this with you.
Yeah.
And it was everyone, but
Sounded
I'm
like
going
he
back
wanted to
there.
be. He wanted to be back with where his barbarian brethren killed everybody in the Black Forest.
Yeah, I don't know if that has. See, I knew that I used to know things, but with life and just time and whatever, you sort of let go things that really don't have anything to do with the present, or what's at hand. However, I do know that I don't know if it held some sort of significance in his beliefs in the next. I have no idea.
I know that he's from Germany, so maybe he wanted to be buried in Germany. But it's just odd to pick, the Black Forest where there was a lot of executions.
And there were specific coordinates. I will also give you that. It was a very specific place to go.
Yeah.
In the Black Forest, and
do you have that?
Yeah. No. And
I thought you had the coordinates. Do you have the coordinates?
No, I do not.
Oh, okay.
I just remember seeing the parchment. Like he had everything so organized. I just remember seeing it written, but it was like an old map, like an old map, and coordinates were written, and all of it's gone for the ages, and
that's wild.
Just crazy. But I will tell you that there were the things that might. It was like from the Olympics. You remember with Jesse Owens, the Olympics?
Yeah.
He was there.
Mm-hmm.
He had those kind of things, all kinds of Nazi and death, all of that kind of. I couldn't touch them. I was so sick. Mother was like, she said, "Come on out here," and the kids all went out.
So you burned all the. You burned all.
Oh, I
of
didn't
that?
burn that. I did not burn those things. I would not touch those
No, who
things.
did though? I mean, though some of that stuff might have been historical.
My mom took care of all of that.
That's just really irresponsible. I think it's really. I mean, not to. I'm just saying. I think it's irresponsible that stuff wasn't turned over to some historian or something.
I wish that when I tell you it was getting so crazy up in here, and I was taking care of my father at that time, who was in the advanced stages of Alzheimer's disease. There was a lot going on in this house, okay? And one less thing. Are you following me? One less thing. Let's take care of business.
I get what you're saying, but I mean, why didn't she just give the business to some, hand it over to...
she did. When I tell you,
a museum.
I could go downstairs. I don't even know if she would tell me, because she knows how wild I am. When I tell you, when I found that out, it would be like if someone said my father wasn't my father.
What year was
and
this?
here I spent my
What year was it? Yeah. Huh? What year
when you say,
was this?
What year what?
What did all this happen? Did you burn the documents?
Oh, we burnt, and I can go on Facebook. We have it on Facebook. No, we have the aftermath of the faith after we did the ashes. It would have been my father passed away in 2010. It would have been 2012. 2012.
So when you say aftermath on Facebook, what does that mean? An aftermath. The pictures after we had had the little service and poured his ashes out. It was just after pictures. We didn't take pictures during any of the the little what have you. None of that. It was just just like family shots up at that we were there. We took care of it. So there was nothing showing anything. It was just us on a sunny Sunday afternoon. And but there nothing. Not that I know of. I will tell you that. And from what my mother has said, that was everything. But what she did with those items, what some people would collect, I don't know, and I don't want to know. Yeah.
I went nuts I went nuts knowing that they were in my house and that I was living in a house all these years. And she's like, well, that's why your father didn't tell you. And I'm like, what? My father told me everything. Evidently not. And I said, is there anything else that you need to tell me? I mean, it was a really come to Jesus moment, you know, for me and for my family. And when I say my family, I'm talking about my children. And
must have been a weird
you know,
feeling.
Yeah.
Huh. Well, at least
at
least you guys cleared up some of the paranormal
bad
activity
energy
around it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Okay,
Well,
well,
cool.
Gray, thank y'all, and I'm sorry if I hope no one was bored or if they
No,
were
I just
bored,
wanted to
I'm
get you
sorry.
back on. We got you on a track where we all kind of know the story now.
Well, see, that's why I
so
told
thanks.
everyone just to put it in the drawer.
Well, I know, but we
'cause we're
don't.
gonna
But the thing
revisit
is
it.
here's the deal. Is like, I don't know. See, like a lot of times, my mom will tell a story like this. She'll say, "Hey, Gray,"
goes all
she'll go,
over.
"I had such a crappy day today," and then I say, "Well, what happened, Mom?" And then she goes, "Well, okay. First of all, when I got up in the morning, I put on the, and then it goes through all these things, and it turns out that the thing that she's upset about was when she went to the store, the clerk was rude to her.
Well,
but I have to,
don't need
but I have
be
to
a
listen.
rambling Rose.
Yeah.
I'm sorry if I'm a rambling Rose, but I will tell you this, Gray, and I'm hanging up. You have a way about you. I'm going to say this. I can't believe I'm running my mouth the way that I am.
Hey, I can bring it out. I can bring it out. I can bring it out of people.
I'm not kidding. It's like, dude.
It's like
I don't
talking
know,
to a
it's
friend,
like,
man.
I can't imagine even being around in the same room where I would be looking at you, but it's like, what?
Yeah.
And I'm telling myself, shut up, Lisa. Too much information. Lord have mercy. But
No,
anyway,
no.
there y'all.
Okay, well,
There
thanks
you
for
go.
calling in.
I'm sorry I'm a rambling Rose.
All right.
Be blessed.
All right, thanks for calling.
Bye.
See you there. Ramblin' Rose. Yeah, somebody had called. They were on hold, and then they left. So if you want to call back, it's free now. Yeah. Hey, Kate, nobody's really interested in your sort of your self-righteous, sort of holier-than-thou comments, okay? They're really not interesting, okay? The truth is he was an SS Nazi. He killed people. He was part of the most brutal group of people that's ever lived. A monster, okay? So that's it. And I don't care if even if you're just part of the team, you're a bad person. Well, Gray, what you don't realize is they were forced to, if they didn't, screw it, Just a few of them had fought back, maybe it would have saved some people. So anyways, let's see. Well, there's nobody on hold right now. So does anybody want to call in? There was somebody on hold. And get back to the sort of more traditional... I mean, I don't know if there's such a thing as traditional paranormal stories. That one's pretty crazy. The Nazi war, basically would-be war criminal who hid his entire life and at the very end wanted to be buried back in his homeland, the motherland, in the Black Forest where so many people were executed, never to be seen again. And as soon as everything related to him was burned, any metals, any kind of, all the stuff, the papers, then the paranormal activity went away. Okay, hold on. Got a call coming in. 916, you're on the air.
Hi, my name's Cindy, and
Cindy? Okay.
I've basically had paranormal experiences my whole entire life. Come from a long line of psychics, and ghosts are no strangers to our family, but my husband, a year and a half ago, he became ill and he had committed suicide in his truck in our driveway. And I had surveillance up to my whole house after that. And I had actually, I was kind of like, the truck was still there at the house where he had shot himself. And anyways, this creepy, I had to keep walking by this truck all the time, but I, at one point, had taken off for the day, and I came home and my dogs were gone. And it was really strange because I didn't know, they had no way of getting out. So I decided to just review the surveillance and see if maybe somebody had been in my home or see what was going on. And I was rewinding the surveillance. And as I'm watching it, it had become dark throughout the time I was gone. I was gone all day. And I see the closet doors in our hallway where the camera was pointed. I see the doors not real fast, but as throughout the day went on, opening more and more. And in my hallway, there's a picture, and you could see my husband, his image, appear in this picture in the hallway, and he was just in the picture, and you can see him really clear. I mean, right down to the decal on his T-shirt that he would wear to work. And he was just looking. He'd look up and down. His head would turn in the picture, and I thought I was going crazy. And I called my son in, and I asked him, to take a look at it. And before I said anything, he says, "I see him. I can see him in the picture." And that was really kind of freaky. But the freakiest part was I could see like orbs coming out of the room into the hallway, and I mean, several people witnessed and watched this, and it would happen like every night when it would get dark. You would see him start to appear in this picture. So as time went on, I ended up losing my house, and I was having to move out the day I was moving out. It was just really weird because I had to get all the vehicles out of the house, and I was actually being evicted. And one of the vehicles we had was a van, steam cleaning van, that my husband decided that since he could no longer do flooring, he was going to try to get a business going, and we were going to start a new business doing that. But he wasn't able to do that, and I was having to get these vehicles out of the yard. I had to get them out that day, and at one point I couldn't find the keys to this van. They were just gone. I had no idea where they could be. And I went over to a friend's house, and I looked on the table, and there were 2 Ford keys sitting there. And so I thought, well, what the heck? I went over to the house, and a friend of mine was there, and it was getting to be 9 o'clock, which is the time cutoff date. I had to be out of there. And the van, the keys didn't work in the van at all. And I went to the truck, and I sat in it, and I just said, "Tom, please, I need some help here." And I went back over to the van and put the key in, and the key turns the lock. And my friend was, no way, but it did. And so I'm like, I'm going to get in. I'm starting it. I'm going to see if this starts it. And the key starts the van up. And so I just was like, overjoyed that I was going to be able to get that out of there. And anyways, I proceeded to move. But throughout the time I was moving, my son, who was our only child, he had an asthma attack, and he was put in the hospital on life support. And I was, throughout when my mom, before she passed away, I had promised her my son would be baptized. But I'd make sure of that, and I didn't know, if he was going to pull through or not. So I had him baptized, and he seemed to have like a peace come over him. But I was standing by his bed, and a friend of his that I hadn't really gotten along with for years, she walked in, and they used to be real close, and she walked over to bed with me, and I was rubbing my son's head, and I was like, "Tommy, where are you at, baby? Please wake up." And my phone turns on, and it starts playing Over the Rainbow, which when my son was little, he loved Wizard of Oz. And we were just, floored. And anyways, my son did pass away. And
I'm sorry.
His friend, thank you. His friend and I, of course, we'd gotten really close through this, and we're just devastated. And she would come to my house, and my son and her used to do this thing with their phones. And my son is a big believer in signs, but
she'd walk in my house and her phone would turn to an hour ahead every time she'd walk in my house. And we didn't like catch on at first, and we'd be sitting there and we were arranging for his memorial and things like that. And anyways, we finally figured it out. We're like, what is going on with the phone? I mean, we literally watched it just turn right before our eyes when she'd walk in, and she'd go home and it would turn right back to the way it was. And this one night when she was leaving, she says, I think this is Tommy. It's got to be Tommy, because, look what it's doing. And she's like, if this happens again, we know it's him. It's got to be him. So she goes home. Well, she had forgotten something at the house and came back to the house. And right when she had gotten home, her phone, of course, turned back to the right time. And she ran back to my house, and she runs in the house, and she grabs whatever it was, and she looks at her phone, and she's like, oh, my God, look. And the phone is gone an hour ahead again. And so, we're pretty much said that was a sign for my son. But when we had the memorial, one thing about my son is he's a big Queen fanatic. He was the biggest fan of Queen, and he would sing all the time. And I had filmed his memorial, and the night of the memorial, actually, I don't want to get off track, but his friend Charmaine and I walked her out, and she got in her car, and we're sitting there, and she said, Tommy was my biggest fan. And when she said that, the car turned on. It literally, all the lights, the CD player, everything turned on. And we were like, well, we found a little comfort in that. We're thinking that this is him giving us a sign. And later that evening, I proceeded to play the tape back from the memorial and his friend from grade school. My son was 23 when he passed. He had known him his whole life. He was talking, while he was up by the altar talking, all of a sudden in the video, it breaks through, and you could hear my son singing the song that he wanted played at his memorial, the Somebody to Love song, and you could hear him just clear as day. It's like it just cuts through, and everybody's sitting there in the memorial, like they don't hear anything, and it's just like what I was trying to say is, I guess paranormal activity is, there are people, there's got to be signs, or there's got to be reasons why these things happen. They don't coincidentally happen where more than one person could like hallucinate it or see it or, feel things like that, I don't think. And I don't necessarily, I know that it's not anything bad, that it's not like a bad spirit, but I know that there's definitely a force out there, and some sort of, there's not, when you can't find an explanation for things, then you have to start looking towards something like it's paranormal, because, some things there just are no explanations for, and those things, were seen repeatedly, and when we finally got it, it was almost like, he could let me know that, finally you guys get it, he's trying to get to her through the phone, because that was, she always has her phone in her hand, and we just were like not, really grasping that. But anyways, he did promise me before, like we promised each other we'd give each other signs, and I do believe that, he still is doing that. I haven't come to terms, it hasn't been that long since he's passed, and I still, I sat down at a slot machine the other day, and I didn't put my player card in. I don't know if you guys know the Indian casinos, but you have these player cards, you put them in, and it'll say, hello and your name. Well, I sat down at the machine, and it didn't say, it said, hello, Cynthia, and I didn't even have my card in the machine, and my friend's like, that's weird, so I called the pit person over, and I was like, well, why would my name be, why would it say, hello, Cynthia, I don't even have my card in yet. And it also said, hand pay jackpot on it. And she said, I don't know, that's strange. And so she went over and got another guy, and they ended up having to clear it out of the system, and it kept saying, remove your card. And I put my card in, and then I tried to take it out, and it still kept saying, remove your card. So they cleared it through the computer system, and my friend I was with says, that's Tommy. He's messing with you. And sure enough, I got up and I walked to the machine, and I had a $2,500 jackpot, which is the exact amount they said that payout, came at.
Wow.
And yeah, and it's, that, like, on my Facebook page, I have proof of things like paranormal things, I know that you say that it's better to have pictures and things, but I have videos of my house that I was in before I moved in the house where my husband shot himself, that doors opening and closing on their own, things of that nature. You know, we investigate hauntings. I've got things flying off shelves, all of that, but a lot of that, I think, it comes from restless spirits, and people don't even know that they're dead. They die suddenly, or, you know, they have things that they still have to do here on Earth, and I think that they're just like in a loop. It's just a time loop, and they can't get out of it. That's why we try, like, when we go investigate hauntings, we try to send them to the light or help them cross over in some way. And that soldier she was speaking of sounds to me like it's almost like I guess it's pronounced Dubuque. The Jewish believe that there were these boxes, and if you put ashes in these boxes of souls that were, or people that were so miserable on Earth, they knew they'd never go to heaven. They'd put them in these boxes, and these boxes are supposed to remain sealed. If they're opened, then you can let them loose, or whatever. I don't know the whole story on it, but it sounds like that's what was going on with that soldier. That it was a Dubuque situation. You know, he obviously wasn't interested in going to the light. If he wanted to go to the Black Forest, and you know, that's kind of like just basically tells you where his head is at. But you know, I don't know if that really has anything to do with it. But I just wanted to share what's the update on my most recent activity. But you know, it's not uncommon for people to get signs or for things to just be right in front of your eyes. You just have to be open to it, and you don't even necessarily. I know that you were talking to a psychic recently that was talking about one of your investigations, and you were debunking what he was saying, and you know, he didn't have a story straight. He didn't know anything going on, and I wanted to tell you that I actually started listening to your show when, I don't know if you remember a woman named Ginger Gover that came up missing.
Yeah, I remember.
Wow. Okay. Well, a friend of hers had contacted me because she knew that I, you know, was doing the psychic thing, and I had met Ginger once in my life. I live in California, where she used to live. I'd met her one time, and it was crazy because the guy that she was living with had a body. I lived right across the street, and he had a body buried in the driveway there. It was they undug a body there that I don't know what that was all about. However, when I was brought back into Ginger's current that she was missing, I had stated that I could see her car, and I could see a person standing on the driver's side of her car. I could see her at the passenger's door, facing the door, and she's wearing black shorts, and it looked like her legs were scratched up.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing: is I don't do. I know what you're saying, but the thing is, I don't do psychic stuff. Okay, because I mean, anybody can just picture things and do all that stuff.
You're right.
I mean, the stories. Right. I mean, the thing is I really want to steer away. I don't want to have psychic stories on my channel, because the thing is you've got people like me. I would be the best psychic there ever was, because when I look into things, I come up with these really accurate theories on here, and I could literally pretend at that moment that I'm seeing something, and then it would be like, wow. Okay, so the thing is psychics use a lot of stuff where they're really not accurate. But they have tricks where they can become accurate later. You see, it's like the one that does EVPs. You know, there's apparently you can. If you're getting wrong information, those were just spirits talking about some other case that just got in there. You see what I'm saying?
Those are fraudulent. Those are people that don't know what you're right. They don't know what they're talking about. But I'm talking about it coming from a place where you see it, you can describe it, you know it ahead of time, and you feel it, and you don't know how to even get that point across to somebody because of the fact that, you know, you're right. There's a tarot card reading that could be anything. You're going to hit the nail on the head if you're just trying to guess the things about people or their future and things. That's not what I was referring to. What I'm referring to is just actually being able to see things you know yourself later on. What I like to do is I like to just follow along and note what I was right about or not right about. You know, it's not something I'm going to go broadcast because there are people out there that don't believe you. So, you know,
yeah, I mean, I'm not saying. I think there is something else out there. You know, like something.
Right.
I just. I have a hard time.
There's some kind of a force that we all know that there's something out there in energy, but I don't necessarily believe in God anymore. I lost my husband and my son within 2 months of each other, you know, for no reason. I'm a good person, but I don't believe in God. This isn't something that's like religious like that. This is something more like it's energy, and it's you know, I know that we have to come from some kind of energy. So
I think it's easy to feel like that too. Like, you know, after my brother died, it's like he was such a great person, and you think like, what kind of a God would if they're really in control of the lives of everybody, what kind of a God would allow him to die? You know, it
suffer in the way people do that. I know, and so you know that led me to I don't really have a whole lot of faith in that. Where I get confused is I have had signs from, like I said, my son and things that are, you know, when you have one, you know it. And you don't need people to validate it. And you don't need anybody to, you know, you just know it. When you get one, you'll know it. And it's kind of like, you know, with the religion thing, God, I don't think plays any part in any of this. I don't think at all. I don't believe there's some man up there in the sky and there's some guy on the ground with a pitchfork. You know, it's ridiculous to me, but I don't, you know, I don't think there's like you go to heaven and they're up there watching down over us. I do, however, feel that there's a bond, I think sometimes so strong that maybe, you know, if there is a way of communicating that they try to reach out maybe to ease your mind or just to let you know that. And you think you're crazy, and so do other people. Everybody listening to me probably right now thinks I'm crazy.
I don't think so.
You know, there's just things that there's no denying it. And then there's things that your mind makes you think, and you just get caught up in the whole, you know, scariness of everything, and you exaggerate things out, and, you know, and that happens a lot. But what I'm telling you with the things that I experienced, they weren't, you know, anything that were exaggerated. They happened. And I thought I'd share it, but I'm certainly not trying to impose it on anybody to, you know, believe that, you know.
Well, I feel really bad for you. I mean, you're such a horrible.
You can always send feedback.
Whoa, that was Alexa. Thought I was talking to it, but I didn't say the name. Did you hear that in the background? See, that damn thing. It's always. I don't know what's going on with that thing. Yeah, the other day, sometimes I wear this neck because I have a bad neck, so I have this little pump thing that I put on my neck to straighten it out, you know, to fix it back here, just to make it more comfortable. Because sometimes when I'm on the computer all the time, it just. But anyways, all of a sudden now I'm getting ads on my YouTube videos for this little neck pump thing. Like, well, how would you know that? I didn't search for it. Was it that you were looking at me, Alexa? You freaky... I don't know what's going on with Alexa. But,
well, I guess I'm going to let you go so somebody else can share their experiences. But it's been a pleasure speaking with you.
I'm sorry about the whole... You know, the whole psychic thing. Anybody can claim anything. I think the other things are great.
I know exactly where you're coming from.
Yeah. The other thing is real. Like, people really experience these things, and it's like, wow, you know. But
it's pretty far-fetched, you know, for those experiencing it. But the crazy thing is, you know, when you're going through it, you're not really scared until afterwards. When it happens, you don't really freak out until, you know, you sit back and think about it later on. That's when it gets scary, you know. But anyways, have a great night and
well, thanks for calling in, sharing
you for letting me share.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry about what happened to you. All right.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Okay,
thank you.
Bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
All right, there's a line open. Well, all the lines are open. I'm not going to pretend. There was nobody on hold here this time. But that was a interesting call there, right? Yeah, I'm not sure. I never said the name of that product. I don't know why it turned on again. Maybe I said something that sounded like it. Does anybody know? Maybe we'll go back and listen to that part. All right. Well, we've been on it for a couple hours now. If anybody wants to call in, you can. If not, I guess we can just call it a day, I guess. Yeah, Alexa turned on. Oh, Jesus. Thanks, Jim. Well, that time she didn't seem to hear me. Nah, I don't think so. There's no audio in the room. Yeah. Yeah, there's been some pretty heavy stories, right? The Nazi ashes and memorabilia all burned to, which stopped the paranormal activity. We've got a couple of different stories with multiple deaths in one house. It's crazy. Yeah, that's something I was wondering about, though. Like, to do these lives, you know, there's only, I don't know if we have a big enough pool to keep doing live shows where people call in with different experiences, because, you know, it's not like it's on the radio where thousands and thousands of people are calling and then they just decide to call in. This is YouTube, where right now there's probably, 120 people calling or something. I'm trying to, oops, there it is. Getting, there we go. Oh, somebody, looks like somebody called in. Hold on. 951.
Hey, Grace.
Hello. Wow, you were so close to being muted because it almost sounded troll-like with some weird sound effects coming on.
Don't spook me. I'm home alone.
Uh-oh. So what's going on?
I'm already scared. Well, you know what? My story isn't really as compelling as most of the stories that people have called in with. So I thought, should I call? Should I not call? But there were a couple of things that are sort of weird, might lighten it a little bit. My husband and I used to go out camping all the time. We were on a road trip. We're in Arizona, so you might have some Phoenix people there. We're sort of east of Phoenix. And we had a fifth wheel we were towing. We decided that we were going to stay in a trailer park. And we went up, we rented a space. We got in, we got to talking to some people, sat down, had a couple of beers over a campfire, and we got to talking, and we said, so what's up with this Superstition Mountains? Have you ever heard of them?
I've never heard of Superstition. That's the... So right now you're sitting around like a campfire drinking a couple of beers? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, just a campfire, visiting with some people at the campsite we didn't even know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, having some beers. And then you're at this place called, what was the name of it again?
Superstition Mountains.
I wonder if I can...
It's sort of east of Phoenix.
Superstition Mountain. Maybe I can find it on the screen. Yeah, Arizona. There you go.
Yeah.
And
so
maybe
it's sort of, you know, there's Apaches. It's like Apache Junction. It's around that kind of area. It's where they had, I don't know how close it is, but the Lost Dutchman mine, gold mine. Obviously, there was a lot of mining in that time and mines there. So we were just sitting there, you know, visiting and talking about that kind of stuff. And the other people had been there longer than us. And we were just there for the night. And so we decided, you know, before we left, we were going to go out and get some snacks and come back. But before we left, the guy that we were talking to said, well, there's supposed to be some type of spooky, ghosty kind of thing related to this campground. And he said it has to do with Indians. And, I mean, my husband then was a deputy sheriff. You know, we sort of look at each other. He's super skeptical. I'm into all this paranormal stuff and spooky ghost stuff. So I'm listening. I've got an ear open. So anyway, long story short, we jump in our truck and we decide that we're going to go out. Well, there's a gate, in the front where they sort of man the campground where somebody stands in it. But it was late, and so there was no one there. And we are coming up, and I said, "Who is that?" And he goes, "What are you talking about?" I go, "The 3 people that just walked out of that place." I go, "It's dark." I go, "Maybe there's a door." And they went out the back. And he goes, "No, there's no door there. The doors are on the side." And I'm like, "Look, I just saw 3 people go out of that little hut, like they have at lakes and stuff, those little huts that they stand in that you pay as you go in and stuff like that. The ranger thing, you know what I'm talking about?"
No, I don't.
Well, when you go into some of the national parks or some of the state parks, they have little buildings.
You mean like a little stand, and there's road on both sides, and sometimes they collect fees, and sometimes you just sort of drive by because you're leaving, right? I know what you're saying. Okay.
Yeah. So, but it was pitch dark, but I could still see. I mean, I could see a little bit, but I could see from the headlights of the truck. And he's like, "What are you talking about?" And I go, "The 3 people." And he's like, "I didn't see 3 people." And I said, "Look, they had to have gone into the bushes right there, or they have to still be in that building." So we stopped and we got out and we looked around, and nothing. There was no one there. No one in the bushes that we could see. I mean, we really sort of scouted around that little building there. It was pitch dark. It was locked up. So then we went to town, got our things, and came back. And when we came back, we were having that campfire with those people, and we started telling them about that. And they said, "Yeah, that's what everybody was talking about, that they see Apaches. They see Indians, Apache Indians." And I said, "I swear, I'm telling you the truth. I just saw 3.
So where was this? What's the name of the campground? Do you know the name of the campground? I've got it on the screen right now. The Superstition Mountain.
It's been a long time ago, so I don't. I couldn't tell you, to be perfectly honest, which one. I just know that we were east of Phoenix, and maybe it's called the Superstition Campground. I don't know. I just know that it was up against the mountain, and we spent one night.
Is it at the base of the mountains where that little building is?
Yeah. And there's another thing too, is they said that the Apaches believe that there's a hole there or something. I don't know how deep it is, if it's a mine or what it is, but they believe that the superstition, I guess, from the Apaches is that is like the underworld or hell, excuse my language. And so I'm like, I'm not sleeping tonight for sure.
How about the Lost Dutchman State Park?
That could be it. Because I remember them mentioning something about the Dutchman gold mine.
Yeah.
And wherever it is, there's some type of hole.
Well, I think I found I think I found that little building. So you're saying it's like, is it a building that has like a roof on it that's pointed at the top, but then it slants on all the sides, like, right? And there's a flagpole in the front, maybe, and then a mountain.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now on the screen, I think, because this goes.
Oh my gosh, great! I'm telling you the truth. I would stake my life on it.
So
I saw
that's
3
crazy.
people.
Wow, and they came out of that little building. It's actually not as small as some of the normal little. I was thinking more of like a checkpoint, but this is sort of like almost like a little visitor center, but it's small, right? It's literally like 20 feet by 20. Yeah. It's not big at all. Yeah, so.
And I'm like, why wouldn't they have flashlights? Why wouldn't they say hi to us? I mean, we were driving by, our windows were down, we were going really super slow, obviously. And I'm like, where'd they go? And I stayed in that trailer, and I said, I'm not leaving this trailer. Sometimes you go out at night afterwards, and you walk around or whatever. I said, I'm not moving from this trailer. I mean, I was like, I know I saw 3 people for sure. And I don't know if they were Apache Indian ghosts or what they were, but I was spooked. That was enough for me
so there. So in that area, there's a parking area there too, right, where people can park and go in. Right. Yeah. So I think we're looking at the right spot. You can take a look. I don't know if you can see the video on your screen or anything, but
Oh no, because I'm on my phone. I
Right.
have one more, but it's not convoluted. It's just you're probably going to debunk this, and you're going to laugh at me. But there's
I don't
one
debunk
more
them. I
that-
don't debunk them. I just don't do the
Okay.
the psychic conversations because those are just.
Well,
I don't know.
I don't blame you because I don't believe in psychic.
No, well,
myself.
it's different too, though, because I'm just talking about people who. I don't mind if if it's something about like you had a. Something told you something in the middle of the night, and you woke up, and that same thing happened. That's different than people trying like that divine psychic ability. You see what I'm saying? I'm looking for those one-off stories that people just can't explain. They're like, whoa, this one time I was doing this and blah, 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 like that. So anyways, let's hear this one then. But I think I've got the right spot. I think this looks like exactly what you're saying.
This one isn't really like spooky. It's just sort of weird. My husband passed away when I was 20. He was in the Vietnam War, and he was killed in a helicopter crash with several other soldiers. And after that, I started seeing 1111.
Who was that, your husband? Or what'd you say?
Yeah, it was my high school sweetheart. I'm going to try to get you off a speakerphone. Hold on a second. I hope I don't hang up on you.
Oh, sorry. That sucks, too. Jeez.
Okay, I got you off. Okay, so it was my high school sweetheart, and we met when I was like 15, and we got married when I think I was 19 and he was 20. He was drafted into the Army, and he was 7 months later killed in a helicopter crash. So after that, I started seeing 11:11 on the clock. And everybody goes, well, you have a digital clock. Of course you're going to see 11:11. Or are you looking at the clock at 11:11? Or are you going to bed at 11:11? I'm like, no, I just have this weird feeling. And then I turn around and I see it. I see it in the car. I see it when I'm on the phone. I just see it all the time. So my family sort of got this thing because I would talk about it, and anytime somebody would see 11:11 on the clock, they would say, hey Kathy, it's 11:11.
Yep.
And I'm just like, okay. So it was sort of a family thing that people would know 11:11 was associated with me for some reason, but we didn't know why. So one day I was working in a hair salon, and one day this woman came in and she was doing numerology. And I don't believe in numerology. I'm a Christian. But at that time, I didn't see any harm in it. So I was like, okay. She goes, I'm going to do your numbers while you're doing my hair. I go, cool. That's, she was entertaining me. And so I said, okay. And she goes, this is really weird. And I go, what's that? And she said, well, I just did, all your stuff. And she said, you're surrounded by 11s. And I'm like, okay, I'm leaving the room. So then the next thing she says is, well, your name is Kathleen or Kathy, right? And I go, yeah. And she goes, well, that's the 11th letter of the alphabet. And I'm like, okay, I'm surrounded by 11s. I never thought K is the 11th letter of the alphabet. I didn't think anything about it. No big deal. So I'm just like sitting around with some friends one day, and we started putting everything all together. And they go, well, your car license is what's changed, so I can tell you. It's CIB 353. And I'm like, 353 equals 11. So I'm like, okay, what else? So the next thing is I'm looking at my address as I pull in one day, and I've moved so I can say my address. And it was 5114, which equals 11. And the 5 and the 4 were tarnished, and the 11 stuck out. You could see it boldly. And I'm like, this is getting, even, like, what's up with this? Okay, so then I was at work one day, and I had a really hard day, and I thought, I'm in Southern California. I'm going to just go to a high-rise hotel that's nearby, and I was working as a travel agent then, and I can get a hotel for really cheap, and I'm going to go stay there. And I was super upset. I was crying. So I go in, I check in, I get the travel agent rate, they hand me the key, I get into the elevator, and I wasn't looking at anybody in the elevator. There were other people, and they were pushing the buttons, and they go, what floor do you need? And I looked at my key, and I did not ask for a gray. They go, oh. I go, my room's 1111 on the 11th floor.
You should see in the chat right now. Look at this. No, look at it. It's like somebody just typed in, my current address is 1111 Unit 1. Ada said there's books on 1111. Then she said, yes, I get 11. I mean, it's weird. Yeah, so.
Okay, so
So
I call my family.
You're part of an 1111 club. Yeah.
Listen when you hear the rest. So
Yeah.
I call my brother and I tell him and his wife where I'm at. And I'm like, I'm in Southwest Plaza. I'm on floor 11 in room 1111. I go, I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing, but I want someone to know where I'm at. And that's before the cell phone thing. I mean, I'm old. I'm a grandma. Okay, I'm 68, so this is a long time ago. So, but it's still happening to this day. So they go, are you kidding me? Are you making it up? Did you ask for the room? I'm like, no. And so I thought, I'm just going to chill, take a bubble bath, have some wine, relax, have a nice night, have a good view. Okay, everything turns out fine. So the next thing I know is I was like compelled to get a necklace. And we used to always wear chains then, and we would have like brat and love, and it was just a thing that was in then. And so I went out and got myself a chain that said 11, a number on a charm that said 11, and I started wearing it. And I used to just, grab a hold of it with my hand when I was nervous, and I would swing the 11 back and forth. And I'm like, okay, why am I wearing this necklace with 1111? Why did I go get this? So then we're going, okay. So my daughter was born in 1970, and this is sort of where you'd say with the psychics, it can be 50-50. But I'm like 7 and 4 is 11. Of course, I took the 9 and the 1 off, 1974, right? But 7 and 4 is 11. So it just went on and on and on. So one day we're all sitting around, we're having a glass of wine, and we're thinking, well, let's try to figure this out. What's significant? And all of a sudden I went, OMG. And they go, what? I go, when's Veterans Day? 11/11, November the 11th.
Yeah.
So I'm my husband wasn't killed then, but he was in the service.
Did you ever find out what time he died? What time of day he died? You ever try to find that?
I don't know. I would love to know, because it was a helicopter crash. He died in May, but I was like, if he died on May the 11th, I would have probably ugh. I mean, I was, just trying to put it together, but now I still see it. So one day I was messing around, and like Alexa, Google's my favorite friend. And so I'm Googling, and I'm thinking, I got to find out about this 1111 stuff. And I was just entertaining myself. And so I said, hey, Google, what's up with 1111? I keep seeing it on the clock. Google pulls up this thing. There's a million videos. Well, not a million, but a lot. A ton of videos, a ton of books that have been written, and a ton of people. It's like a phenomena of people that see 1111.
That's what Ada just said a minute ago, that there's books on 1111.
Yes, actually written books and videos and people. So I'm posting 1111 on my Facebook whenever I see it. I don't post it every time, but you'll see my name on there has, I'm not going to say what it is right now, but it ends in 11. So I'm like, okay, there's a reason for that, because 11 surround me for some weird reason. So I'm on Facebook one day, and I'm posting 1111, and all these people are coming on, what's the significance? And I go, it's a long, silly story. No big deal, but it just is around me all the time. And I'm thinking, November the 11th, maybe he's sort of hanging around like a little guardian angel taking care of me. And he was a veteran, and his name's on the Vietnam Wall, and he died for our country. I'm proud of that. And, for our freedom. And
so
I mean,
thank you for his service. I know can't tell him, but, I'll say thank you to you.
Thank you. I love your show, by the way. I want to say that, but I wanted to tell you one other thing about that. It's when I'm posting it on Facebook, one of my friends, it was like a friend of a friend, she posts back and she goes, I see it too. I didn't even say anything about it. I just posted 1111. I didn't say a word about it, what significance it was, what it meant. I never shared it, nothing. But it gave me the creepy crawlies, like, oh my gosh, somebody else is seeing it that I know. 1111. Now, some people say they see 1212 or 1010 or whatever, but I'm telling you, look it up sometime when you have a minute, and you'll see books are written on it, and everybody has a different theory as to what it means. But to me, I sort of am associating it with, my deceased husband. Like people say they see pennies. Like I always think when I find a penny, my mom passed away, and she said something about pennies. That she would leave pennies, and I find pennies all the time.
Yeah, it's weird. I've never done the 11:11 thing. I always have this other time. Like it seems, I don't know, I don't even remember what it was, but there was times where I wake up at like 4:44 in the morning. Like every single. Oh wait, that's so weird. That's what Linky I just looked up there. Linky said the same thing. I'm not kidding. I didn't even see what she wrote, but I get the same thing.
That's weird that you're saying that.
Yeah, I wake up at 4:44 a lot at night for some reason. I don't know what the hell it is. And I just looked in the chat and I saw somebody type 4:44 and I was like, what the hell? That's crazy.
Yeah, and my daughter sees 333. Well, the weird thing is that my address is 3333, and we're exactly 33 miles apart. So there's something with numbers that other people see. Like I said, some people see 1010. See, you're seeing 4:44, right? You see it during the day?
No, it's just at night. Like I'll get up to go to the bathroom or something, and it's 4:44, like all the time.
Yeah,
and I'll even literally go, "Wow!"
I mean, come.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what are the odds of that, really, when you think about it? And that's why people used to say to me, "Oh, you're just waiting till 11:11, and then you're looking at the clock." Well, not my family. My whole family is like, "This is creepy. This is spooky. This is scary. What's up with 11:11?" So I just, they'll come over and we'll be having a cup of coffee and they'll go, "Kathy," and I go, "Yeah, I know, it's 11:11."
Yeah, well, that's cool. Like, I'm glad you have something like that too. That's that feels like it's related somehow.
I hope it's a good thing. I hope it's not a bad thing, but I hope it's a good thing.
Doesn't sound like it. You haven't had any negative experiences related to it, right?
No, not that I'm aware of.
Although, was it 11:11 when you saw the 3 Indians coming out of the check-in center? Oh boy, here we go. I
mean, like I said, my husband was a sheriff, so it was super practical. He's like you. He's matter of fact, and he didn't doubt it for a minute when I told him. I said, "I just saw 3 people." I'm telling you, he got right out of the truck with me. I wouldn't got out of the truck. But I knew I was with him. So anyway, and I have one other thing that's really small, but people talking about people passing away. I have my dad's ashes in the front room. Not all of them, just some of them. And when you guys started talking about all that, I started going around my house, turning around on a bunch of lights. I'm like, I'm not going to sit here by myself. I mean, he's been buried. Part of him with my mom. He's buried under a tree in Idaho. He's sort of scattered around, but I do have some ashes in my front room, and I was like, whoa. When my mom passed away, out of 4 kids, I was the only one that needed to go and see her before she left the hospital. So my husband got, ready really fast and took me over there, and there were 4 of us in the room. And she was already, it sounds gruesome, but she really was like an angel. She was in a body bag, a white body bag. And I asked him if I could spend a few minutes with her by myself. And there were no windows in the room. And it wasn't the morgue itself. It was the waiting room for when they come to pick him up to take him to the mortuary. And I was just, hugging on her, kissing on her, telling her how much she meant to me and how much I loved her and everything. And all of a sudden, I saw something pass over the top of my head. And I was like, what was that? And you know how you try to debunk it? Like, oh, it was my glasses. Maybe, maybe it's my mascara. Maybe my hair's in the way. I turned around to see if anybody had opened the door. I was like, something just passed over me. And there was no window. No one opened the door. None of that. And when I left there, I was a believer before, but I was a real believer. And I was walking out and got in the truck with my husband. We were driving home, and I said, "I'm going to tell you something you're not going to believe. That I think my mom's spirit passed over me." And Christians believe that when you die, you're immediately present before God, if you believe in God. And I'm not going to go into all the religious stuff, because I know politics and religion and all that kind of stuff doesn't really go. But something passed over me. I remember when
when my brother was dead, I went in, I wasn't there right at that moment, but like it was weird. Something didn't seem real about him anymore. It's like he he felt different. Like I put my hand in his hair, you know, and I was like,
Mhm.
I don't know, it was weird. It just felt different. Like you could
I'm
tell
so
he
sorry
tell he
for
wasn't
your loss.
there. Oh, well, thanks. But, you know, this is 1986 that I'm remembering, but those are things. Sometimes I kind of wish that, like I wasn't there for that. Like my brother,
Right.
my younger brother didn't see any of this stuff. But in some ways, I guess, I don't know. I don't know what the benefit is. I mean, it's weird. You know, one thing I've been thinking about lately is that I don't know if I'd want to be buried, like in the ground,
You know,
because
I
it's
wanna be
weird. It's
cremated.
I'm trying to picture like you have these. You're in there and you're just sort of decomposed. You know, you're just sort of these bones in the ground. But it'd be cool if you're cremated and your ashes are spread around and you immediately your cells or whatever part of your whatever you were becomes part of new plants, and you know you're part of the environment again instead of just
Yeah, it's like life.
Right.
We had a deputy who had a fiance, and she passed away. She was young, and she passed away. And he asked us to go out in California to Joshua Tree, which really you're not supposed to do. And he was going to sprinkle her ashes. So we said, okay, we'll make a day of it. We'll go out there with you. He had some of her ashes. Her family had the rest. And we're always dividing up ashes. And so we get out there, and they have big boulders. I don't know if you're familiar with Joshua Tree, but they're big, huge rocks.
I've heard of
And
it
a
from
lot of
the Jodi Arias case. They went there.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. Well, unfortunately, she was a whack. Cray cray.
Yeah.
But so we decided to take the ashes out there. I know you have other callers, so I'll speed it up, talk fast. So we take the ashes out there, and it's typical. This deputy was funny. He always smoked a cigar, and he always drank coffee. So, of course, we're going in a motorhome out there. He's got his coffee, and he's got her ashes, and he puts them in a cigarette box. And so we get out there, and we're climbing up. This isn't spooky. We're climbing up the rock, and he has his little time with her, and he says, hey, come on up, you guys. So we climb up the rock, and he opens up the box, and when he did, oh my God, Gray, the ashes went all over my husband and I, and all over the rock. And I'm like, when I came home all the way, I was thinking, I need to take a bath really fast. And I had to tell everybody I knew that I walked on her ashes. I was like, there was no way. You couldn't get off the rock without walking on her ashes. And I'm like, no disrespect to you. I only met her once. I'm like, no disrespect to you, but I definitely have decided that I want to be cremated. I do not want to be put in a box and have all that, like you said, go on.
Yeah, it's weird.
And I've always thought about the people that are buried, and that, you know how they used to have that thing where some people, they were in like a comatose state or something years ago, and they didn't know if they were dead, and they said some people were buried alive. I thought that would be just my luck. You know, I'd be in a box 6 feet under, and I'd be trying to crawl my way out. So, no, cremation for me.
Yeah.
For sure. Well, I'm going to let you go. I really like your show, and I love your doggy Blue.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out how to put him on the screen, but he doesn't fit into the set. You know, he doesn't, like, I don't know how that would work. You know? But
yeah, he'd have to, he's just too sweet and too cute. I mean, it doesn't fit with the drama and the spookiness.
All right.
But anyway, I'll let you go. Let somebody else call in. But
Well, I appreciate
I'm
you
gonna
calling
think
in.
about that.
Those are interesting.
I better not start seeing 444.
Yeah, that's mine. Well, look at. Oh God, what if it was? What if it was? I see 443. Then you went, wait, 434. Oh, that's 11. No, Jesus, that would have been freaky, right? Come on.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I have to do quite a bit of fishing to get all this together. But I mean, seriously, when you see it as often as I see it on the clock, and when you look up and see there's a worldwide phenomena, I'm like, what? And I didn't even know it. And by the way, I'm Black Rose 11 on your page.
Oh, cool. All right. Well,
okay. I'll talk to you later. Have a good time tonight.
Okay.
It's been really entertaining, and I think I like this channel just as much as I like the other one.
All right. Cool.
I'll talk to you later.
All right. Talk to you
okay.
later.
Bye. Bye, everybody.
No, I think there was a caller waiting, but now there isn't a caller waiting. Oh, well. But, you know, it's 10:49 here. Anybody else want to call in? Tell their stories? I'm going to go use the facilities. Maybe when I come back, there'll be some... there'll be a... ooh, look at that. Ooh. He disappeared into the fog. Maybe there'll be a caller on hold. Who knows? Sound like somebody tried to call on Skype. Not sure why somebody's calling on Skype, but that's not what we got on. Hello.
Hello.
Who? What's this number wasn't even on the screen? So what made you call this one? Who's this?
Oh, it's sorry. It's Ryan. I just thought you'd be using this one.
Okay. No, I was using the one on. I was using Zoom, not Skype. So I was like, "Whoa, what's going on?"
Oh no. Oh, can everyone hear me? Okay then.
I think they can hear you. Yeah. I don't even know how.
Cool.
I didn't even know I had Skype on.
Yeah, it'd be great. I've always got your number.
Yeah, stalker.
Yeah. That's my story. I've been stalking a YouTuber for 2 years now. No. So I've got a pretty short and sweet one. So I used to go out with this girl. It was back in 2012, and I actually met her online. We did the full thing, mad love. Kind of fell in love. I ended up moving in with her. We got cats together, so it's serious then. And I know that it didn't end up working out. It's just one of those things. And when it came to her kind of moving away, she ended up getting a job in Melbourne. So we were in Queensland, at Brisbane. She ended up moving up there. I was still working in Brisbane, and I was getting over things. It was all going okay, but there was one day I was driving back from work. I was in pretty heavy traffic, and always have the same radio station on, Triple J in Australia. Their news is always really good, and on the hour, every hour, the news rolled in. I think it was about the 3 o'clock news in the afternoon, and it said, breaking news in Melbourne. I was in Brisbane. Breaking news in Melbourne, there's been a tram accident, and one of the trams has hit and killed someone. So that tram's, not moving, and they're investigating it, and I can't explain it. I've always kind of maybe been able to lock in to important people in my life, so if Mum's struggling, I get this, out of the blue kind of, I have to message her, and she always says, "Oh, I was just thinking about you. I just needed that." And basically the news reports come on. I've just had a feeling going, at least, my ex, she she's got something to do with that. Or so I actually sent her a message. I pulled over the side of the road. It was that important. Had to message her and said, hey, just heard there was a tram accident in Melbourne. You know, how many hours away? It's 12 hours away. Hope you're all right. And she goes, I'm actually on the tram that hit him.
Oh, jeez. Wow, what are the odds of that, huh?
Yeah. And it was one of those moments where it was polarizing. I've never forgotten it. I can still see myself in the car just going, what the hell? Like, out of all the people that could have been on that tram, that I've gone out with her, that she's then moved away, that she's been there at that very point in time where I've happened to, you know, be listening to the news and maybe not spooky, but I'm a big believer that we can tune into energy, that we can, if you're more sensitive to things like that, you know.
Yeah, like I call it, like, you know, see, the thing is about intuition. It's when I say intuition, I don't know if that's if it's. See, intuition to me, there's something extra when somebody's good at intuition. When they have intuition, they have something that's different than other people, right?
Yeah.
And I think it is something extra, you know, like it's not. Yeah. So maybe that's what it.
Hang on,
is.
this guy going crazy. He's about to go past. I'm doing burnout. Yeah, and certain people can, I think, guess if you are a bit more sensitive to things like that, tune into, it sounds a bit airy-fairy, but yeah, if you're open to things, I think your energy just gets trapped up with someone else. And we were madly in love, and, you know, I love my mum, so, yeah, little things like that, unexplainable things, I love it. It makes life interesting, but that's my story. I just woke up, and I always have a nap when you're about to go live and sleep through the first. Like, how long have you been on for?
2.5 hours now.
And yeah, see, every time, every time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my story, Grail. I'll leave you to it. I'll keep listening, but you're going to be wrapping it up, are you?
Yeah, probably pretty soon here. I got to get some things figured out in the real world here. The non-paranormal world.
Non-YouTube world, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Have a great weekend. Happy Australia Day to any Aussies watching. And all right. Well,
be
safe.
Story. Thanks for calling in.
No worries, guys.
All right, see you later.
You're welcome.
Yeah, bye. Wow. Raven with the hyper intuition. Let's see if there's anybody on hold over here. No, nobody there. All right. Well, maybe I'll call it a day on the show tonight because I gotta figure some things out. I got some things with work here. Let's see. There we go. All right. But listen, hey, I appreciate everybody showing up tonight. That was cool. Yeah, some more really interesting stories. Hopefully, if you're listening to this the next day, I hope you guys don't mind earlier when I was I just wanted to get that other story a little bit more cohesive, so I had to interrupt a few times. Okay, because I think at the end we all realized what was going on, but it was hard for a little bit there. That was earlier on. Who's this idiot Stacy here? Jesus. Yeah, just don't when you don't delete comments like that, hide them on the channel. You know, they're morons that just sort of show up out of nowhere. You know. Yeah, well, you have to call a different time. Everyone always says, "Oh, I was going to call right when there's been 2.5 hours, and then there's so much time when nobody's even on the phone." But it seemed like it was pretty solid most of the time. Don't you think? I'd like to continue to keep doing this, but I get nervous that there'll be shows where nobody's calling in because they've already told their stories. And I want individual stories where people have those. Oh boy. I want those people that have their individual stories where they're not necessarily even a believer in the things, but they have those stories where it's like, whoa, man, I can't explain this one time. Everybody has those. You see? Gray Wur or Weir? Yeah, maybe. Well, there doesn't take courage. Just call in and tell your story, you know? I mean, I'm not like some... It shouldn't make you nervous to call in this show. It's not like 10 million people are watching. And even then, just tell your story. You know, everyone's got them. Don't be nervous. All right? All right. Well, I appreciate everybody calling in tonight. I'm going to see if I can... Is it this one? Maybe end the show with this audio. Personal paranormal experiences. Yes. I appreciate everybody calling in. There's no debunking on this channel. All right. So there you go. We're just letting people tell their stories. So if anybody shows up and makes one of their stupid comments about that person's full of crap, that's when you just remove them from the channel. Okay? Now, I am making my own executive decision not to have psychics and, EVP readers and those types, mediums. I don't believe in that, okay? I really don't. Because mediums call the police too, as Raven said earlier. If they were so great, they wouldn't need the police to find missing people. They would just go find... If their own child was missing, they would just use themselves and not call the police. All right? So there you go. We don't have mediums and psychics on the show. We just have people telling their own, as the title says, personal paranormal experiences. Yeah, I wouldn't mind UFOs at all, actually. That's all legitimate stuff. Okay. All right, everybody. Thank you for showing up tonight. I really appreciate it. Hopefully we can get up to over 1,000. We're at 965. So share the video with everybody. And get the subscriber count up. Please subscribe if you haven't subscribed. I would really appreciate it.